What if your mood and your bones were more connected than anyone ever told you? You've heard that calcium, vitamin D, and exercise matter for bone strength, but there's a deeper, hidden layer that science is only now beginning to uncover. Your emotions, hormones, and even your mental health play a powerful role in how your bones age, especially as you cross into your 40s, 50s, and beyond. This isn't just about bone density, it's about serotonin, estrogen, stress, and the beautiful, complex relationship between your mind, mood, and skeleton. Today on Thrive Sphere, we're diving deep into this groundbreaking topic. Estrogen, serotonin, and bone health, the mood-bone connection. We'll explore how your emotional health affects your bone strength, why hormonal balance is critical after midlife, and what you can do right now to protect both your mood and your skeleton naturally. Grab a notebook. This might just change how you think about aging forever. Chapter 1: The hidden link between mood and bone strength. Most people think of bones as lifeless structures, just calcium sticks that hold us upright. But here's the truth. Bones are alive. They're dynamic, constantly remodeling tissues composed of blood vessels, nerves, living cells, and surprisingly, they're deeply influenced by hormones and even mood chemicals. Your bones actually listen to what's happening in your mind and body. They respond to stress. They respond to diet. They respond to movement. And yes, they even respond to your emotional state. Welcome to the neuroskeletal connection, the intimate link between your brain, your mood, and your skeletal system. Left-pointing magnifying glass. What does the research say? Studies now show a clear relationship between emotional health and bone health. People with chronic depression have lower bone mineral density. Those with generalized anxiety disorder are more likely to suffer from spinal or hip fractures. Postmenopausal women with mood disorders face dramatically higher rates of osteoporosis and fracture risk, even if they're physically active. Why? Because key mood-regulating chemicals, like serotonin and estrogen, also directly regulate osteoblasts, bone builders, and osteoclasts, bone breakers. So, if you've ever experienced long bouts of stress, emotional burnout, or hormonal shifts, it could be impacting your bones, quietly, slowly, invisibly. That's why understanding estrogen and serotonin isn't just about mood. It's about preserving your skeletal strength for life. Cherry Blossom Chapter 2: Estrogen, more than a reproductive hormone. When you hear the word estrogen, you probably think of menstruation, menopause, and fertility. But the truth is, estrogen is essential for both men and women. And its impact stretches far beyond the reproductive system. Shield in your bones, estrogen is like armor. Here's what estrogen does for your skeletal system. Stimulates osteoblasts, these are the cells that build new bone. Estrogen helps activate them. Inhibits osteoclasts, these are the cells that break bone down. Estrogen suppresses their activity. Improves calcium absorption, it helps your gut absorb calcium more efficiently from food. Preserves collagen, collagen is the flexible protein matrix in bone. Estrogen keeps it intact. Reduces inflammation, chronic inflammation accelerates bone loss. Estrogen helps calm this process. Estrogen acts as a sort of bone gatekeeper, deciding when to build, when to break down, and how much calcium to store. The menopause crash. After menopause, estrogen levels plummet by up to 90%. And with it, bone loss accelerates, fast. Up to 20% of bone mass can be lost in the first 5 to 7 years after menopause. This loss affects trabecular bone, the inner honeycomb structure, which is crucial for preventing fractures in the spine and hips. But estrogen also interacts with the brain, especially with serotonin. And when estrogen falls, serotonin balance can be disrupted. That leads us to the second key player in the mood-bone connection. Smiling Face Chapter 3: Serotonin, the mood-bone messenger. You probably know serotonin as the neurotransmitter that helps regulate mood, sleep, and happiness. But what many don't realize is that only 5% of serotonin is made in the brain. The other 95% is produced in your gut. And here's where it gets fascinating. In the brain, serotonin improves mood, reduces anxiety, enhances memory, and helps regulate pain. Healthy levels of brain serotonin are linked to stronger bones and better emotional resilience. Place-setting hash in the gut? Serotonin plays a very different role. When produced in excess, especially due to chronic inflammation or poor gut health, it can actually inhibit osteoblast activity, slows down new bone formation, increase the expression of a protein called SERT, which impairs serotonin's effectiveness, reduce bone quality at the microarchitecture level, even if bone density numbers appear normal. The estrogen-serotonin link. Estrogen helps regulate serotonin production, release, and reuptake. When estrogen is high, like in your 20s and 30s, serotonin is balanced, and bones remain resilient. But when estrogen drops, after menopause or during chronic stress, brain serotonin decreases, mood worsens. Gut serotonin may increase, bone building slows. This hormonal chaos can lead to emotional imbalance plus skeletal weakness. Warning sign Chapter 4, Depression, Anxiety, and Bone Loss, what the research shows. Let's dive into the clinical evidence. What does science actually say about mood disorders and bone health? Depression. A landmark meta-analysis in Archives of Osteoporosis found that depression is significantly associated with lower bone mineral density, especially in postmenopausal women. Women with major depressive disorder, MDD, had up to 15% lower spinal BMD compared to non-depressed controls. Depression raises cortisol levels, a stress hormone known to increase osteoclast activity, bone breakdown. Worried face anxiety. A study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism showed that chronic anxiety and panic disorders were strongly associated with spinal bone loss and vertebral fractures, especially in women. The likely mechanism? Disrupted serotonin signaling, excess sympathetic nervous system activity, and chronic inflammation, all enemies of bone health. Counterclockwise arrows, the vicious cycle. Low estrogen disrupted serotonin, increased anxiety, elevated cortisol, faster bone loss, physical frailty, worsened mood, even more bone loss. This cycle can spiral silently for years unless we recognize it early and intervene. The message is clear. You can no longer separate mental health from skeletal health. And the sooner we treat them as one system, the sooner we can start rebuilding strength from the inside out. Chapter 5, The Role of Cortisol in Bone and Mood. When we talk about hormones that affect both mood and bone health, estrogen and serotonin are just part of the equation. Another major player? Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. What is cortisol? Cortisol is produced by the adrenal glands and plays a key role in regulating metabolism, controlling blood sugar levels, managing sleep-wake cycles, reducing inflammation, helping the body respond to stress. However, chronic stress and the elevated cortisol that comes with it can wreak havoc on both mental health and your bones. Cortisol's double-edged sword. In the short term, cortisol helps your body survive. But when levels stay high for too long, it becomes damaging. For mood, high cortisol disrupts serotonin balance, leading to irritability, anxiety, and depression. For bone, cortisol interferes with osteoblast function, the bone-building cells, and increases bone resorption, breakdown, accelerating bone loss. People with Cushing syndrome, a disorder of excessive cortisol, often suffer from both severe mood issues and osteoporosis, showing just how tightly linked these systems are. The stress cycle. Here's what a chronic stress cycle looks like. Constant stress, elevated cortisol. Disrupted serotonin, mood disorders. Impaired estrogen, testosterone balance. Reduced bone formation plus increased bone breakdown. Decreased energy, increased inflammation, worsened mood, and further bone loss. It's a vicious cycle, but one that can be broken. What you can do: practice daily stress reduction techniques, mindfulness, meditation, prayer, walking in nature, journaling. Prioritize quality sleep, 7 to 9 hours per night. Consider adaptogens, under professional guidance, ashwagandha, rhodiola, or holy basil. Limit caffeine and alcohol, which increase cortisol. Learn to say no. Boundary setting reduces burnout and boosts both mood and bone resilience. Man Chapter 6, How Men Are Affected Too. Yes, this matters for men. Often, discussions around estrogen and bone health center on women, especially postmenopausal women. But here's the truth, men are not immune. In fact, the mood-bone connection is just as relevant for men, though it manifests differently. Estrogen in men? Yes. Men also have estrogen, specifically estradiol, converted from testosterone via an enzyme called aromatase. Estradiol plays a critical role in closing growth plates during puberty, maintaining bone mass, and even regulating mood in adult men. Men with low estrogen levels often experience bone loss, especially in older age. Testosterone and serotonin. Testosterone enhances serotonin receptor sensitivity, which explains why low testosterone is often accompanied by low mood, depression, and decreased motivation. And because testosterone helps maintain muscle mass and bone density, low levels can lead to sarcopenia, muscle loss, decreased bone mineral density, higher fracture risk. The silent problem. The problem is, male osteoporosis often goes undetected until a fracture occurs. Why? Bone loss in men is slower and more gradual. Men aren't routinely screened for osteoporosis unless there's a known fracture or severe risk. Depression in men is often underreported or misdiagnosed as irritability or fatigue. What men can do? Get hormonal testing for testosterone and estradiol if experiencing mood changes or energy decline. Start resistance training, it boosts both testosterone and bone mass. Prioritize omega-3 fatty acids and zinc, which support hormone balance. Watch for symptoms like poor sleep, anxiety, or sudden back pain. These may be signs of both mood and bone changes. Chapter 7, Hormonal Testing, What to Ask Your Doctor. To truly understand your mood and bone health status, hormonal testing is essential. Don't guess, test. Here's a guide to what you should ask your doctor to check, especially if you're over 50, menopausal, or noticing changes in mood or bone strength. For women, estradiol, E2 measures bioavailable estrogen. Low levels equals higher bone loss risk. FSH/LH, follicle-stimulating and luteinizing hormone, can indicate menopause status. Vitamin D, 25-hydroxy-D, optimal range is 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter. Calcium, both serum and dietary intake. Magnesium, important for mood and bone matrix. Cortisol, TM, blood or saliva to assess chronic stress load. TSH, free T3, T4, thyroid dysfunction often affects mood and bone turnover. For men, total and free testosterone, low levels linked to depression and low bone density. Estradiol should not be too low, men need a small amount for bone protection. Same as above, vitamin D, magnesium, cortisol, and thyroid hormones. Bonus tests. PTH, parathyroid hormone, helps regulate calcium levels. Bone-specific alkaline phosphatase indicates bone formation activity. CRP, C-reactive protein marker of systemic inflammation. Ask for a DEXA scan if you are over 50 and have risk factors, smoking, low hormones, sedentary lifestyle. Have had a fracture. Have chronic depression or take SSRIs, some may impact bone density. Herb Chapter 8, Natural Ways to Balance Estrogen and Serotonin. Good news, you don't always need prescriptions to support estrogen and serotonin. While medications have their place, many natural strategies can help harmonize your hormonal balance and protect your bones and your mood. 1. Eat the right fats. Omega-3s, salmon, sardines, flaxseed, help build serotonin receptors and reduce inflammation. Monounsaturated fats, avocados, olives, almonds, support hormone synthesis. Avoid trans fats, which impair neurotransmitter function and increase bone breakdown. 2. Try estrogen-friendly phytoestrogens. Flax seeds contain lignans that support estrogen balance. Soy foods, rich in isoflavones, especially fermented like miso or tempeh. Sesame seeds. Chickpeas, lentils, also good sources. 3. Support your gut. 70 to 80% of serotonin is made in the gut. A healthy microbiome equals better neurotransmitter production and estrogen detox. Eat fermented foods, kefir, kimchi, fiber-rich veggies, and limit sugar and processed foods. 4. Exercise daily. Weight-bearing exercise increases both bone density and serotonin levels. Even 30 minutes of walking boosts mood and supports bone metabolism. Add strength training 3x a week for a full mood bone benefit. 5. Herbs and supplements, consult your provider. Maca root, balances hormones and boosts mood. Rhodiola rosea, supports serotonin and reduces fatigue. Magnesium glycinate, calms the nervous system and supports bone structure. Vitamin D3 plus K2, essential for calcium absorption and hormone support. Collagen peptides plus vitamin C provide the building blocks for bone regeneration. 6. Sleep and light. Serotonin is a precursor to melatonin. Get natural sunlight in the morning and sleep in darkness to regulate the serotonin-melatonin cycle. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. 7. Mind-body practices. Meditation, gratitude journaling, yoga, tai chi, breath work, all reduce cortisol and support hormonal balance. Clapperboard conclusion. Your bones are not just dry, lifeless structures. They're living tissue, deeply influenced by your hormones, your thoughts, and even your emotions. The connection between estrogen, serotonin, and bone health isn't just fascinating, it's empowering. Whether you're struggling with mood swings, going through menopause, or just feeling off in midlife, know that it's not just in your head, and it's not something you have to accept. You can take charge of your mood and your bone strength by white heavy checkmark getting tested. White heavy checkmark eating with purpose. White heavy checkmark moving your body. White heavy checkmark managing stress. White heavy checkmark and choosing to thrive, not just survive. White right pointing backhand index. If this video opened your eyes to something new, don't forget to like it. White right pointing backhand index. Subscribe to Thrive Sphere for weekly health insights backed by science and delivered with heart. White right pointing backhand index and drop a comment below. Have you noticed the mood-bone connection in your own life? Because your bones deserve strength. Your mood deserves peace. And you deserve a body that supports your best life. Let's keep growing stronger, together.